With incomes failing to keep up with rapidly increasing prices of essential bills, the threat of insolvency has been increasing day by day for millions of households. We at NISA estimated that 1.5 million households now face food and energy bills that are greater than their income. So if we just think about that for a moment, that means the incomes of 5% of households do not cover just 2 of their essential bills. The only way they can withstand that kind of financial pressure is by continuously drawing on their savings. Now, their savings are essentially acting as the only buffer they have to being virtually insolvent. The key question for us is how long can they draw on those savings for? We've projected in our latest outlook that the number of households with no savings will hit 3 million by the end of this financial year. Now, that's an increase of 1 million households from this point last year. But this is just the beginning. As prices continue to increase, and as the energy price cap increases in October, that threatens to take household energy bills to over £3,000 a year. As a result, we project 5.3 million households will be without savings by the end of 23-24. That's 1 in 5 households in the UK being stripped of all financial ability to withstand inflation. With essential bills outstripping incomes and now savings running dry, this situation has gone over the edge for millions of households. But this is just one side of the story. By this point next year, the number of households with less than 2 months' income in savings will reach nearly 7 million households. Now that's 1 in 4 households in the UK who are living paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, and are therefore the most vulnerable to further increases in inflation. If this situation wasn't unfair enough, the richest households actually increased their savings over lockdown, whereas the poorest had to run theirs down. So those wealthier households entered the cost of living crisis with an even stronger financial safety net, whereas the poorest had a weaker one. Currently, the only thing stopping even more households sliding into destitution is what little savings they have left. But the implication of this finding is that this source of protection has run dry for millions. It's important to remember that when inflation comes back down to target, that doesn't mean prices will return back to as they were before, just that they won't be increasing at the same pace. So by all means, just because we at NISA project that inflation will stabilise this time next year, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. What is needed is a long-term plan to raise the incomes of those hit hardest by this cost of living crisis. Without adequate policy to mitigate this crisis, the number of households falling into destitution is just going to get larger and larger. Our message to the Chancellor is to look at universal credit, as that is the most effective system to get cash into the hands of people who need it the most.